my magical and beautiful country where I was born. But this is also my country. One of the most unequal countries in the world. And that's the country I vowed to work for the rest of my life. And maybe because of that inequality is that I decided to study law, pursuing social justice, or so I thought. But soon in my career, I realized that maybe law was not gonna make it, but education was. So I decided to apply to a program you maybe are familiar with, which is called Enseña por Colombia, which is like Teach First here in the UK, or Teach for America in the USA, which is a program in which professionals of any career commit to be public teachers in the most underserved communities in their countries for 2 years. And that's how I ended up in this town close to Cartagena. You might have heard about Cartagena. It is the town of Baru. And Baru is a 4,000 people town in African Union that is beautiful. It has no sewage system, no aqueduct, no electricity. And there I was a teacher of 368 students. From 5th grade till 11th grade, and I was an English teacher, a social studies teacher, a physical education teacher, a math teacher, I mean, everything, because that's how rural education works. Or I thought I was a teacher, but I was actually a student of Colombia's reality and inequality. And when I was in my second week as a teacher, they told me that my student Cariluz had just given birth, and that I should go and give her some workshops so she was not falling behind. So I went to her house. This was a 17-year-old girl with a 17-day girl in her hands. You see, here, every year there was between 15 to 20 students getting pregnant every year. Every year. Nobody talked about that. And then going through my attendance list, I realized that my girl students did not go to school between 4 to 5 days a month because they had their period. And no one talked about this. And I would hear of way too frequently cases of sexual abuse of my students. You might know that this happens in Colombia, but another thing is for your students to be there. And nobody talked about this. When I asked my colleagues, what's going on? They would tell me, well, it's not the first one, it's not going to be the last. But I couldn't see. So I decided to invite my female students to a women's circle to talk about what nobody was talking about. Sex, relationships, contraceptives, diversity, violence, mental health, and rights. Menstruation, of course. And they started talking differently, walking differently. Please look at them. Remember their names. Perla, Kiarla, Aleida, Joandris, Arledis, Wendy, Deja, Yadira, Jurani, and Marimar. Please remember their faces. And then they came to my house, because of course they knew where the senior house was. It's a tiny town. And they said, we want others to learn the power we now have. You see, when you have the power to decide over your body, your sexuality, that power, once you have it, nobody can take it away from you. but only education can give it to you. Sometimes you take it for granted. So they invited other girls from other communities. This is the first time they were mentors. Here you can see them circled. Those are the guilty ones that made this happen. And they taught these other girls about the power they had. And they called themselves Poderosas. I was an English teacher and I told them, why aren't we girls' power? No, miss, nobody speaks English here. We want to be Poderosas, which means powerful girls from Peru. And what happened next is that within a year, teenage pregnancy dropped 77%. Nothing else was happening in this town, but this woman's circles. They had the power to decide over their lives. So I became obsessed. How could you not become obsessed? You see, Latin America has the second highest teenage pregnancy rate in the world. And Colombia has the second highest of the OECD Latin countries. This is a poverty trap. This is a poverty trap of multi-generations. And it is also a trap for violent cycles. But it can be changed. So I became obsessed, and what this started as a project being a teacher is now an NGO called Poderosas, of course, how they named themselves. And we do just one thing, which is a lot: comprehensive sexual education to strengthen the decision-making power of young men and women. And we work with teenagers, we work with their families, and we work with teachers. And we work in different places of the world, of Colombia, hopefully the world. And I've been a witness of how this education can change their lives. It is that simple. If we educate on sexual and reproductive rights, then they can become agents of change and break the poverty cycle and the violent cycle they're condemned to. And I can proudly say that we've been able to reach 24,000 people. We have presence in 35 communities in Colombia. And we have trained 930 mentors. And we have hired 17 Poderosas and Poderosas to be mentors. And also, being obsessed to be able to see how much we changed their lives, not only in numbers, we created a decision-making power index. So with a survey before and after, we could measure how much they learned. How much they learned being part of this program. So yes, you can see that the impact is gigantic, but most especially it is reversible. They already have a power that, as I said, nobody can take away from them. So this is Daniel, and Daniel is, you have seen you can see in your tables, that's Gabriela. That's Daniel's girlfriend. Now, doing this, it's of course very emotional, and as you can see, I'm very passionate of what I do. And I don't want ever to do anything that brings so much passion exhausting. Because the truth is that the stories and the numbers that I just showed you make no sense if you don't know the stories. This is Elber. Elber comes from a place in Colombia that is surrounded by guerrilla and by paramilitaries. So boys like him are very likely to be recruited because it's the only shown path to get out of poverty. He went into Poderosas, and after the program he asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And his answer was not to be a guerrilla member. His answer was, I want to be a Poderosas mentor. So this is one more man that will probably not be violent and will not choose violence. This is Andres. I think you might remember some of the board members. I hope you remember him. Because he was living in activity when he went to Cali. He was in many shelter homes when he was brought up. His family got into some criminal activities, and boys like him would very likely mirror a context of drug trafficking and gang members. But him, after Poderosas, he decided to study social work, and now is a hired mentor by Poderosas. And this is Jocelyn. Jocelyn was a mother when she was 15 and then when she was 17. And she was condemned to doing webcam work and other works that she wasn't proud of, and she got to Poderosas, as she says, too late, but not too late. And she's now, it's been 2 years that she's now a mentor of Poderosas in teaching others what she learned. And do you remember them? Well, none of them got pregnant before 19. None of them did. Which means they broke a cycle. And this photo was, it was actually 2 years ago. This is Vanessa, ella, Wendy, Joan, Luis, and Mariana. None of them is a mother. They're 2022, and they're all hired by Poderosas to continue teaching others that they have power. So, this is me taking boxes. Because to decide to do this, it's hard. It's emotionally hard. It's physically hard. Because I don't know why in the world social work and our impact is disproportionate to its funding and to its value. You see, rooms like this are very scarce. I don't know how to say that word well. Scarce. Few. There are few rooms like this in the world. So I'm a bit intimidated and very grateful to be able to be here. And there are very few organizations that understand the complexity of doing this work. But Empower does. And to be honest, I don't know what I did right for Empower to select us. But gracias a Dios, they did. I'm very thankful. If it has ever crossed your mind to do an NGO, please think twice. Continue in finance. Continue what you're doing. Empower saw us 3 years ago. And Empower does 3 things that I haven't seen other organizations do. One is that they understand that for me to be able to tell the stories of Jocelyn, Elben, Andres, Bella, Marimar, that came from participants to be mentors, you cannot do it in 1 year or 2 years. It has to be at least 10. Empower understands that. Second, Empower doesn't only funds projects. Do you understand? See, if I'm in front of a class, I can do magic. I'm a teacher. That's my highest pleasure and my highest honor. But in front of a budget sheet, I'll get very intimidated. So Empower helps us to do all those other things that we need to get done so that we do what we do better. And 3, Empower knows and trusts that we know how to be in a class of challenging teenagers and talk about contraception or menstruations and how, even though it's risky, we know how to do it. And they trust that we know how to do it. And because they trust and believe in us, it helps us believe in ourselves when everything else seems against us. So you might never come to Colombia. I hope you do. We're amazing. And you might not know them. This is my team. I obviously cannot do it alone. You might not know their names, and probably you might not know the names that, because of their leadership, they will reach. But you need to know that your support has made it possible for them to write a story that transformed from the likely to the possible now. And for that, thank you. So I'm gonna ask you to close this story with something that we do in every workshop that we do in Poderosas. So I would really appreciate if you stand up. And imagine that we do this in the most complicated communities in Colombia. And repeat after me. We are women. We are men. For those who were. For those who are. For those who will be. For their rights. That